Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to present my work at Hemingway Colloquium 2021. My name is Hideo Yanahisawa from Meiji University in Japan. In this presentation, I'd like to analyze Hemingway's fishing diary and The Old Man and the Sea, focusing on narrative and point of view, and discuss the influence of his fishing experiences and his writing. The Old Man and the Sea was published by Hemingway in 1952, but it is generally known that the original was On the Blue Water, published in Esquire in 1936. What seems to have been written between the two is Hemingway's fishing diary in the collection of the Hemingway Museum in Cuba. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to work with the museum staff to digitize this diary and analyze the contents. First of all, I would like to identify the time of writing of this diary. On page 18, we find Italy's declaration of war on France on June 10, 1940. The year 1941 is shown on page 88, and the year 1942 on the page 111. Therefore, it can be assumed that this document was written between 1940 and 1942. Next, I will outline the information contained in this diary. This is the first page. As you see, the page has date, time, environmental descriptions such as barometer of air pressure, wind direction, water current, living things, and boat direction, and fishing description, and clues description such as Marty or Gregorio, and locations or place name in green. For example, Bahia, Mariel, Cabañas, things like that. As far as place names are concerned, Cabernet Bay, Bahia Honda, and Calenero are recognized in the second page. And page 11, we see Baculanao and our well-known Cohimao. If you reference these place names on a map of Cuba, it will look like this. In other words, it can be inferred that Hemingway was fishing in the nearby waters around 1940 when he kept this fishing diary. Incidentally, The Old Man and the Sea Santiago goes out to the sea from here, Cohimao. When I think about how Hemingway's fishing experience is related to his creative work, I'd like to focus on the similarity between the narrative in this diary and the narrative in The Old Man and the Sea. As you can see, the fishing diary's record on wind direction is similar to the description of wind in The Old Man and the Sea. Similarly, the same can be said for the description of the ocean. There is also an analogy with the depiction of the sun. It is also interesting to note that the description of drifting Sargasso weed, a natural phenomenon, often occurs in the waters around Cuba. is recognized in both the fishing diary and the Old Man and the Sea. Next, I'd like to focus on the Cuban fisherman as documented in the fishing diary. This yellow shaded area records the poor lifestyle of the fisherman living in Carnero. He wrote, fishermen at Carnero, poor and undernourished and miserly, and they are allowed to fish but not to farm any of the land. They squat on not even to have gardens. Carnero was probably a fishing village located in Bahia Honda. What is most interesting about the similarity of the narrative is that in the fishing diary, Hemingway describes himself with his initials, E.H., instead of I. For example, this combination of initials and verb is also consistent with description of Santiago in The Old Man and the Sea. This attitude of objectively recording himself on the boat suggests that Hemingway was trying to apply his own fishing experience to his creative work. Now let me summarize my talk. As mentioned above, the fishing diary in the collection of the Hemingway Museum, Think of the Here in Cuba, shows Hemingway's keen insight into the nature and people of Cuba. An objective portrayal of himself in the diary shows that Hemingway always approached fishing with an awareness of creativity. Thank you for listening.